Jonathan Taylor is off the PUP list, and it sure seems like he's going to be sticking around in Indianapolis. Going to be talking about that here in just a second on today's show. Then also we got the NFL Week 4 injury updates that you guys are looking for. Players like T. Higgins, Kenny Pickett, Davante Adams. We got those injury updates for you. And then also, what the heck is wrong with the Cincinnati Bengals? I'm going to give you my take on what might be going wrong there in Cincy. But before we get into today's action, let me know who you think is going to win tonight's Monday Night Football matchup between the Seattle Seahawks and the New York Giants. Put it down there, type SEA if you think the Seahawks are going to pull off the victory, or if you think the Giants come out on Monday Night Football and get this one. Give me an NYG down there in the comments section. For me, I'm going to say the Seahawks win this week 28-20. I think Geno Smith and crew are going to take care of business tonight on Monday Night Football, and I think they come out victorious. Now let's talk about Indianapolis Colts running back here, Jonathan Taylor, who, of course, a couple months ago requested a trade out of Indy. Now he's off the PUP list, and according to Jay Glazer of Fox Sports, the Colts have 0 trade offers on the table for Taylor at this point. Now to catch you guys up, this is kind of the saga that has unfolded in Indy over the past couple of months. Of course, Taylor requested a trade from the Colts on July 29th after meeting with Colts owner Jim Irsay. Apparently, he said some things that Taylor did not like. And then he was placed on the PUP list before the season started, which meant that he had to sit out the first 4 weeks of the season. Now that we're heading into week 5 here, he is eligible to come off the PUP list. And the Colts head coach Shane Steichen announced that Jonathan Taylor will, in fact, be coming off the PUP list this week, and he will begin practicing with the team on Wednesday because Steichen is somebody that, of course, he's somebody that can really take advantage of the talent around. We're already seeing a really good job in Steichen as the head coach of the Colts to this point in the season. They're sitting at 2-2. Anthony Richardson, who is a really raw quarterback prospect coming out of the University of Florida, he's looking really good in Steichen's system. And now that you add Jonathan Taylor to that group right now, that could be an absolutely electric duo here in Indianapolis moving forward. Just imagine those read options with those tough decisions. Do you go and get Jonathan Taylor, who's one of the best running backs in football when healthy, or do you stick back and you take into account the dynamic rushing threat of Anthony Richardson? I mean, both of those gentlemen can take any run to the house. They're both dynamic talents. I mean, especially with a guy like Shane Steichen running that offense, one of the best offensive minds in football today. All I'm going to say to the rest of the NFL is good luck stopping that dynamic duo. So what's your take here with Jonathan Taylor looking like he's going to be an Indianapolis Colt throughout the end of this season? Is Indianapolis a playoff contender with Taylor in the lineup? Can Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor, that dynamic duo, get this team to the postseason in a loaded AFC? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section by giving me a yes or no. And this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a yes or no down there in the comments. Now let's get into some week 4 injury updates. There is quite a few big names that ended up getting some injuries this week. Let's start with the quarterback, Kenny Pickett, starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's looking like the report's coming out. It's not 100% confirmed, but it's looking like a mild knee sprain for Kenny Pickett, and he's going to be out for a few weeks. Now, what does that timetable look like? We don't know for sure. It could be 1 week, 2 weeks. Of course, the Steelers have the bye in week 6, so he's pretty much for sure going to miss this week 5 matchup versus the Baltimore Ravens next week. But then he has the bye, and I think the Steelers are hoping he can be back on the field for week 7. Then superstar wide receiver Davante Adams, arguably the best receiver in the game today, suffered a shoulder injury, but he did return to action by the end of that Chargers game yesterday afternoon. It seems like he is going to be just fine, but it doesn't look that way for Patriots edge rusher, number 1 edge rusher Matthew Judon, who is now feared with a torn bicep here. And if that is the case, if that is confirmed, he is likely out for the rest of the 2023 campaign. Another player that ended up getting injured was T. Higgins, who fractured his rib, and he's going to be out multiple weeks for the Cincinnati Bengals after a 1-3 start. If you're a Bengals fan, that's definitely not good news. Then also Mike Evans, another star wide receiver in the National Football League. He suffered a hamstring injury, and the timetable is unknown. He did not return to action yesterday in their game versus the Saints. And, these hamstring injuries, man, they can really linger on for a while. He could be out for a couple of weeks. And he's been really fantastic to this point in the season. I know Baker Mayfield and Bucs fans are hoping Evans can get on the field as soon as possible. Then Teron Armstead, the left tackle that has never finished a season fully healthy, now has a knee injury. And once again, it's an unknown timetable. I'm sure that we'll have more updates on Armstead's status later on in the week. Now, coming up here, I'm going to let you know what I think is kind of to blame for the Cincinnati Bengals' slow start. They started the season 1-3, just got blown out by the Tennessee Titans here in Week 4. I'm going to let you know what I think is wrong there in Cincinnati. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor at Prize Picks. And today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you want to spice up your game days, get started with Prize Picks today. Prize Picks is a skill-based, real money daily fantasy sports game. If you're looking for a more fun way to spend your game days, look no further than Prize Picks. How does it work, you ask? Here's how. You pick 2 to 6 players if they will go more or less than their Prize Picks projection. You can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. So let's take a look at what I have for this Monday Night Football matchup between the Seahawks and Giants tonight. I put the more on Daniel Jones's passing yards. He's at 230.5 today. I think he's going to get more than that. Geno Smith is at 1.5 passing touchdowns. I think Geno will probably throw 2 or 3 tonight. And then right now, I like the value of DK Metcalf at 64.5 receiving yards. I think he's going to flirt with about 100 receiving yards and probably a touchdown in tonight's game on Monday Night Football. So those are my picks. I could win up to $45 tonight by cashing in on that. So that's a really good and fun way to spice things up on game days. Check it out now at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a deposit match up to $100 today. At Prize Picks, you aren't competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks. With Prize Picks, it takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks. So get started right away. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS for a deposit match up to $100 today. Now let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals and why they're sitting at 1-3, right? Joe Burrow and this team, I mean, they were really the only team in the National Football League that really gave the Kansas City Chiefs fits over the last couple of seasons. Of course, big expectations coming into this year. They went to a Super Bowl a couple years ago, and now things just seem to be broken. You take a look at the first 4 weeks here. 3 losses. You take week 1 loss, a blowout to the Cleveland Browns on the road, 24-3. Then you lose a close one to the Ravens, 27-24. Then you win a game at Los Angeles. Maybe you think Joe Burrow and this offense is starting to get back at it with a 19-16 win. But now you kind of reverse track here with week 4 at the Titans with a 27-3 loss. Now you're sitting at 1-3 a quarter way through the season. What's really going on here? Now, I think the thing that you can really point to right now, as everybody kind of identifies as one of the big issues, is that Joe Burrow is simply not healthy. Of course, he had that big calf injury during training camp this year, and you can really tell that it's affecting his accuracy. It's affecting his mobility. I mean, Zach Taylor, the offensive play caller here, he's not even putting Joe Burrow under center very much because he knows that Joe is just not very mobile right now. And you see that, kind of show its ugly head in the stats here. Less than 60% completions, only 728 yards through 4 games, and then splitting 2 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. The accuracy isn't there with Joe Burrow right now when he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the National Football League, one of the more intelligent guys as well. And because he has to be in the shotgun all the time, it really limits what the Cincinnati Bengals are able to do from a schematic standpoint. It's really limiting what this offense can do. And until he really gets more mobility there in his calf and really gets fully healthy, I think this is going to be a really, really difficult time for the Bengals offensively. So that's really going to be the big question for Cincinnati. Can Joe Burrow get healthy at some point this season? And then how fast can he get to that point? Because, listen, the defense is really good. I love what their defensive coordinator is doing right now. I think Joe Burrow, when healthy, is one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. I think we all do. But the big question is, can he get there and how fast can he get there? Second biggest issue, in my opinion, the offensive line once again has been an issue for the Cincinnati Bengals, man. They keep getting pressure on Joe Burrow, and Burrow doesn't have the mobility to move through the pocket the way that he wants to escape the pocket and make plays outside the pocket. He just can't. He just doesn't have the mobility to do that right now, and because of that, this offensive line is giving up a ton of pressure, and it's just not good for Joe and his health and this offense as a whole. Then the final thing, let's shift over to the defensive side of the ball. They're not stopping high-end running backs right now. They're just not. You look at those two blowout losses in Week 1 and Week 4 versus the Browns and Titans respectively. I mean, plain simply, they ran all over this defense with Nick Chubb, of course, in Week 1 and then Derrick Henry in Week 4. You look at that, 206 total yards rushing for the Browns in Week 1 and a touchdown. Both weeks, the teams averaged 5.2 yards per carry. That's way, way, way too much if you are the Cincinnati Bengals. And then, of course, last week, Derrick Henry ran kind of all over you, 173 yards and a touchdown, plus a passing touchdown from Derrick Henry yesterday, by the way, in case you missed that. But I really don't know how I feel about the Cincinnati Bengals at this point in the season because I don't know the answer to those two questions we discussed before. Is Joe Burrow going to get healthy at some point this season? And two, how fast is it going to be? Because if he's not healthy until like way into the season and they're finally putting a string of wins together towards the end of the year, it could already be too late. The AFC is very, very good this year. There's lots of good teams in this conference with a lot of good quarterbacks. So Cincy needs to figure things out and fast if they want to make the playoffs this year. And I just don't know the answer to those questions here to really be confident in the Cincinnati Bengals winning this division, making the playoffs, let alone going to and winning a Super Bowl here in 2023. I think they got the talent on this roster to do it, but it's going to be interesting to see if they can put it all together. So let me know what you guys think about the Cincinnati Bengals down there in the comments section. Will they make the playoffs here in 2023? Type P if you think they're going to make the playoffs, or if you think they're going to miss the playoffs this year and shock everybody. Type M down there in the comments section. Now, before I go, I do have some final news items around the National Football League that I want to discuss with you guys. Let's start with Chase Claypool, who, of course, was a healthy scratch for the Chicago Bears this past weekend, and head coach Matt Eberflus has already said he's not going to be with the team for Thursday Night Football this week when the Bears play the Washington Commanders this week. So Claypool looks like he's going to miss his second week. Seems like he's about to get released by Chicago. We'll probably have more news on him as the week progresses, but definitely doesn't seem like Claypool is going to be with the Chicago Bears organization for much longer. And then, you look at some people that might not be with organizations much longer. Let's talk about Matt Canada, the Steelers offensive coordinator. And let me tell you, man, as the Steelers host here at Chat Sports, I can tell you, I mean, the Steelers fan base is at a boiling point right now with Matt Canada. It's been 3 years of poor offensive play from the Steelers offense. I mean, you bring the guy back as you win 7 of your last 9 games last year. You want to keep Kenny Pickett in kind of the same continuity as he was in his rookie season, but this just isn't working, man. Only 2 games in the entire time he's been offensive coordinator has the Steelers gotten over 30 points, 30 or more points, and one of those was a loss to the Bengals last year. So, I mean, this has just been a completely failed experiment, and if he doesn't really pick things up versus the Baltimore Ravens here in Week 5, I would think that Mike Tomlin's going to pull the trigger and fire this guy during the bye here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, so I think Matt Canada is the worst offensive play caller in the NFL today. But do you agree with me? Do you think it's somebody else? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Who is the worst offensive play caller in this league right now? Is it Luke Getsy maybe? Is it Matt Canada? Who is it? Let me know down there in the comments section what you guys think. All right, and that's going to be it for me today, guys. Really do appreciate your support. Make sure you click that subscribe button for free and daily NFL content here throughout Week 5. We're going to get you guys ready for that Thursday night matchup. We've just got you guys ready for this Monday night matchup. Injury updates, trade rumors, all this different stuff is coming up this week. So make sure you click that subscribe button for our daily NFL content.